Hey, this is Ghost from Blades and Blasters coming with another character generation tutorial. This one's for Degenesis. It is I believe it's based out of Germany, if I remember correctly. Publisher is Six More Vodka. Development team, Christian Gunther, Marco Jurdovic, and all these people here. Um, Basically, to kind of give you an idea of what this game is about, it is a post-apocalyptic slash apocalyptic punk role-playing game. It's a D6 system where you roll a number of dice. Any number 4 and above, so 4, 5s, and 6s are successes. 6s being critical, successes called triggers. 3, 2, and 1 below are all failures, 1 being botches. The background is basically set in a post-apocalyptic setting for Earth, Europe, and the whole world. Actually, has been kind of trashed by these meteorites and spores that have just caused this horrific tainting of the Earth and its ecosystem, causing a new breed of humanity, the Homo Degenesis, different species essentially, which are represented in various different enemies throughout the game that have mental powers or flesh crafting, or individuals that have developed these crazy kinetic powers, or Ubermensch that were kind of put to sleep for hundreds of years that are meant to come back and lead us all and be gods, basically, that are kind of megalomaniacs. There's a lot going on. And the fluff is amazing, and it's two-part book. So this book 2 is character generation. Book 1 is mainly the fluff portion. Book 2 is character generation and mechanics. Book 2 is mainly fluff or story, which is again amazing, and I'm looking forward to delving more into it. I'm just starting to get into it myself right now. I highly recommend if anyone's interested in any kind of post-apocalyptic punk or just have appreciation for excellently well-made RPGs. This appears to be one. I believe it's a remake from or kind of a redoing of an older RPG back in '04, '06, sometime in the 2000s, early 2000s. Um, but this is very much its own game, and it looks beautiful in its own morbid way. But it looks like an absolutely fantastic game. So big ups to all the people who were involved in making this. Um, Looking forward to playing this here, either in early 2019 or within the next few months as a one shot. But right now, I've been making a ton of characters. As you can see, a lot of these are mine that have pictures. And I just want to go ahead and do a character generation tutorial for people who may be interested in this, but are having trouble getting a grasp of it. So I'm gonna be, as far as like really going into the lore, I'm gonna go into it enough for people to understand. Same thing for mechanics. I'm gonna go into it enough for people to kind of get a basics of it. And if you want to know more, you can definitely pause and read at points, or go through and get this yourself, which I highly recommend. Again, even if it's just for the art, as bizarre as that sounds, yeah, I want to buy a book, for RPG, rule set book for the art. I mean, the art in this game is fantastic. So attributes, you've got 6 governing attributes. They're tied to some familiar tropes that we've all seen. So body, agility, charisma, intellect. You've played RPGs before, you know what those are. I mean, that's pretty standard. Psyche and instinct, sort of the same. I mean, it's kind of tied to willpower, but in different ways. Psyche is just your mental strength. Um, as far as your own personal, how easily influenced you are or how strong your willpower is. Instinct is your survival instinct, your primal beast-like urges and understanding of the world, your lizard brain, basically. And each attribute has skills tied to it. The way the system works is you combine attribute and skill when you roll for challenges. And then you compare the results looking at your success versus failures and things like that. There are other things like reactions. You can combine some dice to get another dice roll that can, have certain effects and specialties and things like that. I'm not going to go again too far into it, just enough as I need to for it to explain my reasoning for taking certain things for it. The game. So for characters, the game's pretty heavy on recommending a balanced party. Not that they tell you, not to, but not they tell you what to do. But it's a very tough game. It seems like, just reading into it. It's combat's very brutal. It's very much you alpha strike and win early. You don't want to get into long drawn out combat so you can help it, because it's not easy to recover from, and you can die very quickly. Like, even very strong characters, a few mistakes, you will die in this game. Make no mistake. Um, Literally, do not make a mistake. You will die in this game, and I like that. I like that because it's that way on both ways for the most part. Like, things, it's easy to die, but when you're fighting human opponents, especially, it's also easy to kill them. So combat's brutal as it should be, and I think that really encourages people to think about ways around combat rather than let's charge in and kill everything. Unless they're better, then maybe it's the best choice. But looking at, it recommends certain player types. We'll look at character generation overview and kind of other things with that before we get started. So primal and focus, this is important for mainly after character generation. It's good for character generation as well, because you can kind of plan out your build as far as what you want to do. Primal and focus affect certain attributes, and they also affect your ego point max. Ego points being one, something that you have to keep track of so you don't get knocked unconscious in combat. And two, I believe they have an impact on dice rolls as well. You can spend them to do certain actions or to improve odds. I need to look more into that before I can tell you 100%. Again, I'm still learning the mechanics just as well, but I think I understand well enough to make a good character for it, I believe. That's kind of what I want to bring out here. Faith and willpower are also important. They deflect mental attacks. There is a lot of mental attack shit in this. So I think that's very important to have at least a decent amount of that. Roll at least 3 to 4 dice for that to give yourself a chance. Because otherwise you'll get mind fucked by something, and you definitely don't want. Everybody knows that mental trauma in most games is actually probably worse and easier to accumulate and hold on to than physical trauma. So time heals all wounds most of the time, but you don't really have time to spend necessarily on that shit. I'm of the opinion I would rather build someone who's not going to take the hit or avoid the hit rather than build someone who can take a lot of hits. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and get into it here. So with character generation, what you do is, as far as what they recommend you do is you're making your character, is you choose your culture, concept, and cult. This is basically where you're from, what you're like, and who you work for. And there are 7 cultures, each one based in Europe. They're all analogs to recognizable current countries that we can kind of tie them to. So Bork is like Germany, Franca is like France, and also Britain, because Britain's been fucked on, but there's a decent amount of Britain left that's still considered part of Franca. So Franca, Borka, Polin is Poland, the Balkans. Balkan is Balkan, it's something like that, and that's where you would expect it to be. Pergar is Rome in Greece. Hyperspania is Spain. And then you have Africa, which, I don't have to explain that one. And then you've got concepts. There's tons of concepts. They all kind of tie into some archetypes people are familiar with, and it gives little background synopsis on it, so you can really tie that into your character. And then you have cult, and that's basically who you work for. They are the factions in the game, and these are all very unique. You've got some that are like the Helvetics, which are they're sort of like Swiss soldiers that retreated to their mountain fortresses for the most part and just kind of lived on their own, said fuck everything else, and were self-sustaining. They've recently started coming out because they ran into this mental, crazy, psychokinetic bullshit that's tearing their fortresses up, and they need to deal with it. So they're now starting to become more integrated with the world, and they're on the back step now because they're asking for help and not just avoiding everybody. Or you've got your typical, this kind of pig shit people who are just kind of around and living in tribes, called clanners, and they just kind of exist, and while they're not at the whims of anybody, they're their own self-sustaining factions for the most part. They do come into conflict or into contact with a lot of the other factions, and it's kind of a mixed thing with them. It depends on their disposition, because all the clans are very different. There's no one overarching type of clan. So that kind of determines, so what that does, not only does it help you frame your RP, It also helps you with developing and creating your character mechanically, because each culture, concept, and cult allows you to improve your character beyond the base skill sets. So we're looking at spend points now. You get 10 attribute points and 28 skill points. All skills start at 0, all attributes start at 1. You can only increase them by 2, normally. But you have culture, concept, and cult, which could give you bonuses to the maximum amount you can improve them. This is not an automatic +1. It's not like, okay, I went to 3 body, right? And I get a +1 now because I'm from Borka or something. Or no, from like Balkan. No, that's not how it works. You still have to spend that point, but being from Balkan allows you to get up to 4 body instead of being stuck at 3. So their attribute and skill point maxes. They aren't automatic +1s. That's something that I think I initially was confused about, but then when you actually read into it, it's very easily explained. Then you've got background points that you spend stuff on. Backgrounds are your... Here they are. Backgrounds are kind of like things related to your cult. You start with 4. You can't go higher than 3. The highest they can possibly go is 6, because this is how many dice you roll when you do these actions. So you've got, things like allies, authority. Those things are pretty explained well. I mean, these are all pretty well explained, explainable. They're all tied into your cult and also your rank within your cult. And these affect gameplay for acquiring things, or how you interact with members of your cult, or what happens with decision making if you understand how things work, or what have you. They bring out roleplay advantages. The next thing we're looking at is your rank within the cult. And ranking is basically where you sit in the hierarchy, your pecking order, and it determines kind of what items you get, what your responsibilities are, for your cult. From time to time, could play an RP. We'll play into RP, and it can also give you bonuses depending on your rank, depending on what your rank is and what it says there. You choose your potential. They can be cult specific or common potentials, either one. There are a couple different ones, and a lot of the cult ones are tied into their playstyle, and then finishing touches being a lot of the height, weight, sex, things like that may not have a mechanical impact, but have that impact on how you perceive things. Also, as far as music we're listening to today, it's lo-fi YouTube from the Bootleg Boy, which I guess we'll give him a passing mention here, just because I didn't want there to be dead silence in the background, so appreciate the music. But what we're looking at here is basically going to be, I recommend doing it this way first, just because this is the way they recommend it, and it's not bad. It's definitely not a bad way to do it, but the way I've found that works better once you build a couple characters this way is to build backwards, meaning that you pick what rank you want to be. You got your cult in mind, you got your rank in mind, and then you see what steps you take to get there. Now, before I get into character creation in earnest, I'm always going to tell you to make the character you want to make first, and then clean it up mechanically without it hurting your concept. When you tainted your concept because you want to get mechanical advantages, it's no longer your character. You're rolling dice. You're just rolling dice to do stuff at that point. You're not as connected as you would be. So, sure, make an optimal character. I'm always for making an optimal character in something, because I believe that that's part of having fun, is actually feeling like you can do what your character should be able to do. But make the character you want first, and then clean it up mechanically. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to make the character we want first, and then go from there. So what I'm going to look at here, we're going to do clanners, because clanners are easy to build, and they're pretty straightforward. I mean, there's some stuff they can do that, as support stuff, but clanners are usually just going to be, we're going to get in and we're going to fuck shit up. So we're going to go with clanner. I want to build the tribal warrior. I had to go hunter. I can go hunter or gatherer based on this, but I'm going to go hunter then tribal warrior, because going gatherer then tribal warriors doesn't make any sense to me. And hunter builds into it. So here are your ranks, and here's the rank tree. You have to follow this to advance. For clanners, you start as scout. It's right here. You don't have to do anything to do that. You just pick this, and you start as a scout. Here's what you get. You get items, and you get this, whereas you get a +1d on all attack rolls when defending the clan. So if you can tie that into protecting your clan, you get a +1d, which is pretty solid. I mean, having an extra dice is always nice. Kind of might negate the penalty of using a very unwieldy weapon things like that. We're going to go for at least Hunter. I don't think you can actually start as a Tribal Warrior to begin with, unless you build very specifically. Maybe you can. It'd be very hard to do, though. So, another thing we're going to do is we're going to actually roll for these traits for the cult, or the clan, excuse me, because you can do this instead of taking the regular clan bonuses. It may be better to take the regular clan bonuses in certain circumstances, but I'm all for randomizing and seeing what we get. Might be a non-optimal character. Don't really care all that much. That would replace a lot of good stuff, but again, we're just doing this for fun. I made 12 characters already, so I'm not too bothered by it. So, we're going to go with rolling for some stuff to see what kind of character we're going to come up with here. And then we'll go from there. So let me go ahead. Let's go ahead and go up. So we want to go for... We're going to eventually build into being a Tribal Warrior. That's the plan. Long-term plan. We're okay with just getting Hunter for now, because that's going to help us get there. So, let's go ahead and first pick our culture. Tribal Warriors. When I think of Tribal Warriors, I'm thinking very physical, strong, tough type of race, culture. So, Balkan is what I'm going to pick here. And we play on World 20. This is where all the sheets are. This is where our game's going to be at. So, great sheet for Degenesis on World 20. Balkan. And again, that's the area in the Balkans where you'd expect it to be, kind of Eastern Europe. So as you can see, I get attribute bonuses to body, instinct, and then skill bonuses to melee, stamina, legends, survival, and empathy. So, or wait, no, that's for Pollen. Body, psyche is what I get. And I get brawl, force, leadership, reaction, empathy. So Pollen's probably actually better for the clans, but again, I'm doing what I want to do here first. So Balkan, and you see on the sheet, automatically plugs it in, so that's great. So you kind of see where you not only do you see that you get a bonus, you see where you get the bonus from. Because culture's in red. Boom, get in red. Now we'll do cult. Cult's going to be clanner. To avoid confusion, I may just take clanner instead of rolling for it, because again on the sheet it automatically plugs it in. If you wanted to roll for it, you do have that option on the sheet after you're to kind of roll from the clanner selection. I'm not going to, just because again it makes it easier on this end to keep track of it. I'm not going to bother. So I got clanner. So now we're going to look at concept. Concept is personality patterns, what people are like. Kind of helps you guide your roleplay. So if I'm looking at this, what do we got? I'll tell you what I like. Conqueror seems good. Why not have a militaristic type clan? Maybe they're all about taking things over, a very braggart type of clan warriors. That seems fairly right. I mean, you as a tribal warrior, you live to take things over, probably. You live to conquer, or you live to conquer, live to protect. I like conquering shit. Like let's make a apocalyptic Conan. Let's go with that. That's our plan. So we're gonna go with conquer as the concept. That's there. So already we see that we've got a pretty good base stat line for a lot of stuff. So here's what we're gonna do at that point. So we've got all this. Let's see how we want to build for a tribal warrior, because we've got that all plugged in. All our bonuses are on the sheet. That's right. Again, I really appreciate whoever did this sheet. If anyone can link that in the comments and do all that, that'd be great. Let's do backgrounds actually before we get too much into that. So for tribal warriors, what do we need? We need 3 renown, I believe. So we can go up to 3. We're just gonna go right to that now, so we don't have to worry about it later. Boom. And we'll put our last point in 2. You wanna go anywhere beyond that? Go authority, but again, not too bothered. Resources, because resources are tied in how much money you get at the end of character generation as well. Sometimes I have a little bit of extra cash to buy stuff with for the character. So we got that all built. Now we're going to build backwards. So we're going to look at what we need and apply our points. So We want to get to Hunter. Hunter we can absolutely... Well, Hunter we might not even be able to get to, depending on what we do here. We didn't actually get anything for agility or projectiles. So we might actually be able to get to Hunter, but that's fine. We can set up to where it's a quick jump from Hunter to Tribal Warrior. So we probably start as a scout here, which is no big deal. Again, get some pretty decent items there to start with. Weapon, melee weapon and a ranged weapon. So what we're going to do is we're going to build with the idea we want to eventually get here. So let's focus on the things we need for Hunter first that we can get up to. Hunter, bod stamina. That's easy. I recommend starting with like the basics for stuff that you can get into. So 2-2 there, no problem. Edge and projectiles at 6. We can get to 3. We can get to 2. We're stuck. Can't go any higher for character generation. So that one's going to keep us out of agility. Could we redo it and maybe make something that we can get in with agility? Yeah, we could. But don't really want to. I mean, don't really want to. Not really bothered by it. For the sake of it, we could maybe change it, go like adventure or something instead. But then that could be a barrier to something else, right? I mean, look at your concepts determining your body. So is that going to change body? It actually doesn't. So I mean, we could do that. Oh, it doesn't give us agility anyway, so there's no point. No, we'll go Conqueror. No, so see, that's the thing. Don't ever let yourself be drawn off. Again, it's one level up. It would cost experience points wise. It would cost us like 10 or 12 points or something like that to level at that. Yeah, it would cost us 10 points, 10 XP. So one level up, we get the Hunter. I'm not bothered by it. Instincts and survival 6. Boom, boom. We're set. So all we need is that one level up. We're good to go. So now we're looking at what we need for Tribal Warrior to get there. So we want a melee skill of 8, bod plus melee. So melee can go up to 3, and bod can go up to 5. Boom. Very tough character already. Agi projectiles 6. Again, we're gonna get that one level from now. Bod plus brawl 7. Done. So you see there, all we need is that projectiles level up, and we're good. So now we've got everything we need for Tribal Warrior. We're one level up away from it to getting basically from Scout to Tribal Warrior in one go in game. Obviously assuming that certain conditions are met, right? It's not going to be something oh yeah, you're a bad dude now. It'd probably be after like an adventure or something like that, which is good. So we start out low level, and this could be an opportunity to jump real high depending on what we do. So now let's look at what we have left. So we've built backwards. We've got our goal, our primary goal in mind. Anything beyond that, I mean, we'll work towards it, but temper your expectations. Chieftain's a very long way away, and has nothing to do with steel blocks, so that doesn't matter. We'll worry about that way later down the line. Let's just be who we are right now. So we got 2 attribute points left, and we've got, let's see, 16 skill points. So what do we want to do here? So I'm all for being a very physical type of warrior build. Psyche is important. So we're going to go with a sort of traditional type of build here. We're going to build Psyche here. We're going to put our last 2 attribute points there. We could put one more if we wanted to, but I'm happy with this alignment we have here. So we're kind of dumb. We're not very talkative, which is fine. That's, again, we don't have to be. That's not a problem. Now for, Champion C, you don't have to worry about it. So clanners are very much meant to be warrior types. There's not a lot here for a phase. Maybe if you're a shaman, but I'm not interested. So there's all our attribute points spent. Force, I'm going to pump force. So damage, right? Damage for a weapon is determined by bod plus force divided, in regards to force when it's related to weapons, and I'll bring up a weapon to go ahead and show that to you here. And again, this is very brutal. This is a very brutal game. So if we're talking about brutality, you want to be the most brutal. I feel if you're gonna fight something. If you're a combat-based character, you got to be brutal. We start with a primitive club. I may, with the money I have, I could maybe buy something better, maybe like a pickaxe or something, right? And I wouldn't even be bad with it, to be honest. I'd be pretty solid. I would take some penalties for the handling, but I could really smash somebody if I hit them. So, but we'll leave that alone because the pickaxe is expensive and probably we'll get it. We'd probably end up getting a stone axe if anything. So we're looking at, let's say that we start out with a club. It's 2 plus force divided by 2. It's blunt. And it's easy to handle, so actually that wouldn't be bad. But so force divided by 2 is rounded up. So force is determined by, right here, bod plus force. So our force right now is 9 with bod plus force. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. It rounds up for damage. So on a hit with a club, we do 7 damage. That is brutal. That will smash somebody. You hit somebody twice with a club like this, you will end them. Most people will not survive 14 points of damage. On top of that, blunt as a quality makes it good against armor. So if an armor has a massive quality on it, where massive kind of makes everything else shrug off, blunt hits that hard enough to where they will cause trauma to people on the inside of that armor because of the force of the impact. So blunt weapons, they typically may not do as much damage as other objects do, but they will absolutely wreck people in armor, as you might expect. So do not underestimate blunt weapons. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it might be a situation where I don't think I'd actually take the stone axe, because really the club is just fine by itself. So primitive club, perfectly fine. But this is why you want force, because if you're gonna go melee with this guy, which I would be if I played him, I want to hit as hard as I can because I want the fight to be over as quickly as possible. I don't have to dance around and play games with somebody. You hit him hard, you put him down. That said, if I do get hit, I don't want to be in pain. So I'm going to put toughness, 3 points. Toughness, not only does it affect certain checks, it also has to do with recovering from wounds, and has to do with your starting base wounds. So see, I have 16 wounds right now. Let me take those points out of toughness so I can show you. 0, boom. Oh no, I got 10. Toughness, each point of toughness increases your wound total by 2. That's pretty huge. So I've got 9 points left. What else would I want here? I'm good with instinct for the most part. Reaction, I want 3. Reaction has to do with taking the initiative, being quick, things like that. Do I want faith or willpower? More faith. I think it's more of a faith-driven person. Any points? 6 points remaining. So here's what I'm going to do for the rest of my spread. Not worried about being stealthy. I think he's very much a very blunt, out in the open type person. So I'm going to go into athletics by 2. Athletics has to do with your movement and also your physical, how your shape is, as far as running and things like that. So if you're going to move and get out of the way, you want athletics. And being able to move 7 meters in 4 seconds is pretty good, since it's combat round movement. I got 4 left. Now I'm going to go ahead and go 1 into each of these. Is there anything else left after that? 1, 1, 1. I had 4 points left, didn't I? Okay, so I can go 2 into one of these. Which would be more useful? I feel like... This is the tough part, because I got 1 point left. What do I do when I put it in? Let's go... I think either stamina would be good. Let's go perception. I want to be fairly perceptive. So, I kind of put my eggs in one main basket here, right? Like, a lot of my stuff's based off of... He's a warrior. He's very much a warrior. He's a warrior, but he's also a survivalist. Which is fine. That's what you'd expect. He's very focused in the body attribute aspect. Which again, no problem with that. So This is your standard type of damage clanner, I think, as far as for me getting the most out of him. For what I think that clanners are meant to be, which is pure damage with some survivability, like some survival skills. That being by survival, because this has to do with foraging, hunting, gathering, things like that. So he's knowledgeable with that. He's pretty good. He's also pretty wary, good perception, pretty decent perception. And then I've got your armor 4 to 5 dice for willpower and for primal rage reacting to intimidation, things like that. So I feel like those are pretty standard. You're gonna end up with like 4 or 5 most of the time. So this is good. Anything less than that, you're kind of walking a thin line. Because the last thing you want to do is have a mental breakdown and not be able to do very well in this game with a mental situation where you're being held back. So four or 5 dice for that starting out's fine. You can always pump it later. So here's my guy. We've built him, and he's actually just he's one completed quest away from buying into projectiles for 10 XP and then becoming a tribal warrior mechanically. Obviously, however that is handled fluff-wise is entirely up to the GM. But mechanically speaking, he's ready to become a tribal warrior, full-fledged warrior in any moment. So now, we're looking for, and you can plug in your traits from your class, is something I like to do. So we're going to go back up to Clanners. One day. Where's it at? Clanner. There we go. So I like to do this for the traits, Scout, Prerequisite, and this also reminds me of the equipment that they get. So I get a Primitive Club and a Sling, which I'm not going to bother plugging in here. I'll plug it in later. But that's a Scout trait. Now you do lose bonuses from rank as you go up to gain the new ones. So I'd lose this and then gain the Hunter rank, and I'd lose the Hunter thing, the Hunter result. I'd keep the equipment though. I'd gain and keep the equipment. I'd lose the Hunter thing, then go to Tribal Warrior, get theirs, and get whatever they get here. So it's no joke. They get some pretty great stuff as they go up here. They're very much a combat based faction. Base, obviously, if you can roll for any of these and maybe do a bit more as a clanner. As to add some personality to the clans, but as just the base, if you don't roll for anything with it, clanners are damage dealers, hard damage dealers with some options for being a face or scout or support type sage being. So I mean, they can kind of be faces, or they're either faces or they're combatants, and I chose the combatant. So we've got that all set. Now we're going to go for potential. Now clans don't get potential, so you either work with your GM to make them, or go from the back of this book where there are other clans that are noted, and you can kind of pick and choose some bonuses from them. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and pick a general potential. These are available to all cults, no matter who you're with. And a good one for somebody who's going to be in combat a lot, one I have elephant skin. And basically what that is a natural +1 armor per potential level. Because my skin is just so gnarly and disgusting. But it's a -1d to seduction. So, elephant skin, I get a natural armor bonus of 1. And that's pretty much my character. The next thing I would do is obviously in this fluff stuff here, input this so that my GM can keep track of what I've done, how badly I've messed up. And that's that. The last thing you do, this is all determined for you within the sheet, so you can see for wounds, it's bod plus toughness times 2 for how many flesh wounds you get. My bod toughness is 8 times 2, 16. 16 wounds is a lot to start with. You've got your ego points. That is your initial is either int plus focus or instinct plus primal. I believe I took primal as mine, so it's going to be instinct plus primal. So 4 looks like, or 8 times 2. Yes, it's 8 is the max. My actual starting is 4. Spore infestation, that has to do with becoming a Leperos and devolving into a Carrot Seed, and that's bad. That is the shit that is messing people up, and it's not a good. It's not a good thing to deal with. So you want to be able to have a decent score to handle that. That's your faith. So it's your psyche plus faith or willpower times 2. Again, I've got 4. I have an 8. My actual is 0. I haven't done anything with sepsis yet. Trauma. Again, trauma is the serious portion whenever you're dealing with flesh wounds and they cross your wound threshold. Your wound threshold. They become trauma. Trauma puts you at risk of dying, and will make your actions harder to complete. So body plus psyche. My trauma is 8 max, which is solid. And then we're looking at, defense is always 1 base, barring anything else as far as different passive defenses. So your dinars and chronicler drafts, this is basically your currency. Dinars are for the African nations, chronicler drafts are for everybody else. So as a clanner, you're fucking poor. You've got 50 chronicler drafts times your rank level plus resources. So my rank level is 1, my resources are 1, so 50 times 2 is 100. I get 100 chronicler drafts starting out. That's nothing. I wouldn't be able to get that Stone Axe if I wished for it, which is fine. I don't want it now. Maybe get some armor with it. Other than that, there's not a whole lot you can do with 100. But again, that's fine. We can make some stuff happen with that. And if we built the character a different way, we may have been able to get to Tri Warrior and have more money with it. Again, that's not a big deal. Build the character you want to make. And then you can buy equipment before the game starts, and that's that. And here's the portion where it talks about XP. Let's talk about preferred skills real quick. I think I'm almost finished here. Let's talk about preferred skills and the differences between your Primal and Focus. So remember picking Primal and Focus, which one of those attributes you prefer to be more driven by passions or driven more by logic. We chose driven by passions. You see how things are outlined in red here? These indicate the preferred attributes based on your selection of attitudes. So for Primal, it's your body, your charisma, and your instinct. All these things driven by passion or physicality. That makes these easier to raise for level ups. So for a preferred attribute, it's the new value you're raising it to times 10. For a non-preferred attribute, it's times 12. So if I wanted to raise, say, agility, that's going to cost me 48 experience. For instinct, it would just be, it'd cost me 36. Yes. 12 times 3, yes. No, 12 times 4. Let's see. Yep. 48. So 12 times 4, 48. 48 experience. For instinct 3 to 4, it'd be 40. So I'm saving experience. It's better to go, when you have like your preferred attributes, it's easier to get them. It's cheaper. Then for skills, same thing. A non-preferred skill is times 5 experience. A preferred skill is times 4. So to get us from projectiles 2 to 3, it's actually going to cost us 15 experience to get up there. Which again, that's fine because that's going to get us a lot of bonuses. But if I want to go, say, 2 to 3 in perception, because it's instinct and it's based off of preferred, it'd be 12 instead of 15. So you save experience going through things that are more attuned to your kind of selection as far as your attitude. Let's take a look here. Obviously, rising in rank. That's kind of based off of your prereqs, and again, this is typically ceremonious stuff that happens for that. Raising potential. XP cost for raising potentials equals added level of all potentials. This kind of looks at your potentials in general. Since you've only got 1, let's see. Added level of all potentials. So yeah, let's see. About 2 sometimes. Yeah, so it would be. It's just basically all the potentials that you have times 10. So if I wanted to raise Alpha Skin, it's just I have 1 potential going from 1 to 2, it would be 20 XP to go up to 2, I believe. No, 1. No, yeah, no, it is. It's right. So yeah, it'd be 20. It'd be 20 XP to go up there. See, I'm still learning this myself here. Um, but yeah, it's basically character generation in a nutshell. Obviously, you can do a lot of different things with that. You don't have to. You clearly not. Making a not direct damage character is absolutely perfectly fine. That was just the one I decided because it was the most simple and straightforward that I could make. Um, to go ahead and put things on display here. But this guy is, if we put this guy in a combat situation, with his club, he's doing 7 damage, which is no joke, per swing, not counting any kind of triggers that he might get. He's pretty good against enemies that are in armor. He's not easy to deal with as far as trying to hit necessarily. I mean, we could go into mobility a bit to help with his dodging, but he's very tough to fight and wound. So I mean, he's gonna get in. He's gonna do a lot of damage, and he's really going to put the hurt on people. In fact, I may drop perception and reaction by 1 to kind of get mobility, because mobility is nice to have in fights. It has to do with dodging and avoiding blows, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, because I'd rather, if I'm actively defending, I think it's better to be able to do so. Again, I'm always of the opinion it's either better to kill something so quick that you don't get hurt, or to avoid getting hit altogether with somebody. So that's always kind of how I build a combat-based character. But that's pretty much it for character generation for this system. Again, there's a lot more that goes into it, and obviously, fluff and things like that. But that's basically the meat and potatoes. Building a character here. To be a pretty strong combat character early on. May, again, suffer from being a one-trick pony, but is very strong when he has to do that trick. If you have any questions, or if you're, wanting to go about any kind of specific build ideas for Degenesis, you can definitely, post a comment here on the YouTube page. I'll be happy to help out if I can. Just go ahead and let me know, and let me know what you're trying to work on here. I'll be happy to get back to you. Again, feel free to ask questions about this. Always happy to help out with anything on here. Again, I don't know everything about Degenesis, but I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of character generation. I'm happy to go ahead and speak insights with people. But this is Ghost, signing off again. Thanks for watching. Take care.